Anna. You know her as the Rouge-Headed Rogue, or perhaps the Maroon Merchant, or maybe by neither of those names, since I just made them up. But at the same time, what do you expect me to describe her as? What's interesting about Anna is that she appears in almost every single game in the Fire Emblem series, and despite that, there's still a lot we don't know about her. Just who is she? Why does she like money? How does she find her way to all these different worlds? And how can she be in more than one place at the same time? Today, we're going to leave no coin unflipped as we delve into a character analysis of Anna. So it's time to ask the question, who is Anna? Anna is a character that appears in many forms throughout the series, but presents herself in the same way every time. As long as her red hair is in a ponytail, and one of her index fingers is resting just below her lips, then you can be assured that is Anna you're looking at. Anna made her first appearance in Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the very first Fire Emblem game. After finishing each chapter, she would appear asking if you wanted to save your game. However, she does appear within the world itself during Chapter 11, where by visiting the village she lives, asks you to spare her boyfriend Jake. But he'll only listen to women, so talk to him with Sita and you'll have your very own ballistician. However, the mystery of this redhead only increased when you discovered that she's the one that runs the secret shops across the continent. Anna is a character that's been heavily characterized as materialistic in later games in the series. But if you look at her role as the shopkeeper where the most expensive items can be found, in a way, this has always been a character trait she had. Anna was not present in Gaiden, however, which is the only mainline entry in the series that she is absent from. Perhaps at the time, the developers didn't settle on the running gag of including her in every Fire Emblem. This was reflected in Gaiden's remake, Shadows of Valentia, where Anna still does not make an appearance, as well as Fire Emblem Warriors, where the support conversation between Anna and Celica mentions how Celica has never met anyone like Anna before. Another inside joke she wasn't present in Gaiden. In Mystery of the Emblem, Shadow Dragon's proper sequel, Anna did not make a formal appearance in the story, though as expected she still runs the secret shops. There is also another character that appears in the Arcanea saga that could possibly have a light connection to Anna. There's a character in the game named Fina, who is a traveling dancer. In the original game there was no obvious connection, but in New Mystery of the Emblem, you might be forgiven for thinking this was Anna, or at the very least a possible sister. The hair in a ponytail, bubbly personality, and phonetically similar names could hint at some familial connection. That said, nothing concrete exists. Depending on the game or artwork depicted, Fina cycles between hair colors closer to either pink or red, but the physical design similarities are too uncanny to ignore. Fina never mentions anything about family she has, and there's no way to get her to interact with Anna. So are they actually sisters? You be the judge. Jake did not make an appearance in the original FE3, as he was one of the unlucky characters to get cut from Book 1 of the game. But for the remake New Mystery of the Emblem, he does appear, but this time as a warrior instead of a ballistician. He also gives you a hint how to find Anna's secret shop in the chapter he joins. Also only in New Mystery of the Emblem was the Avatar character, and the person who asked questions of your character's backstory and helped you create them in the first place was also Anna. After the events of the War of Shadows and War of Heroes, Anna would then depart on a journey to see the world, along with her boyfriend Jake. As it turns out, they may have gone to the continent where the next game in the series takes place. In Genealogy of the Holy War, you can find Anna very easily if you go into the supply bank for any fort's menu. It's a little strange that the shop Anna runs does not directly handle the exchange of money in any way. However, you can also find her in Chapter 7, in a village not far from Leonster. If you visit it with Lelia, you will find Anna, who mentions her boyfriend Jake went off to join the war. In Chapter 8, you can also find Jake by a tree near the river, who got lost trying to find the Liberation Army. After talking to him with both Linda and Amid, he says he's going to settle down with Anna and have many children together. Oof! Keep it in the bedroom, Jake! Jake reuses a generic NPC sprite, so it could be speculated if this is meant to be the Jake from FE1. He does make some close references though. He mentions going stiff around ballisticians, which was his class in the original game. The secret conversation is also initiated by Linda. When he learns of the name, he questions where he heard it before. Probably in reference to Lind from FE1, who was recruitable in the same chapter as Jake. Although it's debatable if any of these events are actually canon, since it's the substitute units that have to be the one to initiate these conversations in the first place. For the next few games in the series, Anna would still be present, but delegated to a very minor role. From Thracia 776 to Sacred Stones, Anna would be the one to prompt if you wanted to suspend your progress for each chapter. This was likely her chosen role as a nod to the first and third Fire Emblems, though she would retain her role as the owner of the secret shops, except for Thracia 776, where the shopkeeper for the secret shop is still the generic merchant. In Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, however, Anna does appear in the world itself. In the side quest mission for Chapter 15, she will explain that the pirates you're fighting are actually nice people. She knows because her boyfriend Jake is among them. Just like in Genealogy of the Holy War, we can actually meet Jake in the next chapter as long as that conversation was had. What's interesting is that Jake in this game does actually have a unique portrait sprite. If you've only played FE11, you might think this is nothing more than a nod, but the sprite does share some similarities with Jake's original portrait from FE1. So again, it could be debated if this is supposed to be the Jake of Marth's army. It would seem implausible given how many continents they've appeared on that take place at different times in the series, but if Anna seems to know how to travel across time and space, it's not crazy to say that Jake can too, especially since the two seem to be traveling together. In the land of Tellius, Anna was nowhere to be found. Not only are there no secret shops in either Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn, she doesn't even have a village cameo like in other games. However, she was instead given an important role of the tutorial guide for both games. Even if you do know how to play Fire Emblem, I still highly suggest giving these a read-through. Anna owns the performance and makes each one extremely entertaining, and who knows, you might learn something new. The next time we would see Anna would be in Awakening. Not only does she return as the owner of the secret shops, but for the first time in the series, became a playable character after completing Paralog 4. This is most likely a consequence of Awakening being developed knowing it could be the last game in the series, and threw in Anna as a bonus. But alongside her utility, some new lore was revealed, that the Annas you meet over the various Fire Emblem journeys aren't always the same person. When recruiting Anna in Paralog 4, she talks about how she's never met you before, even though it's possible you've seen Anna many times by this point. She then explains how the Annas you thought you met weren't actually the same person before you, rather her sisters, all named Anna. Just like any other character in the game, Anna does have some support conversations, but her options are rather limited. Her support with Tiki does hint she knows the merchant, or at least someone like her from a time long past, but this isn't ever expanded upon. Of course, she is also able to support Robin, and if you're playing as the male variant, you do have the option to marry her as well. Since she can only marry Robin, the only child she will have is Morgan, who aside from the red hair, looks nothing like Anna. Since Awakening also introduced the Outrealm Gates where even more Annas can be found beyond these entrances, it's speculated that the Annas make use of this portal as an enterprise opportunity, traveling to different worlds to continue selling their wares. This is also where my criticism of Anna's character crops up from this point onward. While we could make the argument that Anna was always a wealth-oriented character, it was only at most an underlying character trait, whereas with Awakening and beyond, that trait was brought to the focus. With every other line calling back to money or even scheming up plots to exploit her allies for financial gain, it comes off as Anna being much more greedy than what was probably intended. It also seems like this interpretation of the character is here to stay. With many fans of the series coming into Awakening as their first entry, this financially motivated version of Anna has become the adopted perception of the character, and it seems unlikely that will ever change. This Anna's birthday is also on June 11th. In Fates, she does return, but relegated to a small yet shady position. Like some of the previous games, she does not appear within the story, though you will find her once again at the Dragon's Gate to offer up portals to DLC. Anna is still a playable character, but only if you do purchase the DLC map, Anna on the Run, which is a recreation of Paralog 4 from Awakening. Frankly, it's upsetting that such a series-renowned character is locked away behind additional paid content, even if it does fit her character. But you can also find different sisters across the numerous other DLC maps, where she offers up class-changing seals to those that can complete her challenges. Interestingly enough, one of these is the Ballistician class, the very same class that Jake undertook in the first Fire Emblem. The second bonus class is the Witch, an enemy-exclusive class appearing only in Fire Emblem Gaiden. Interesting that she finally made it to Valentia after all. If you are male Corrin, you do have the option to marry her in this game, so once again she can become a mother but only to Kana. Sadly, those are the only support conversations Anna has in this game. This Anna was born on June 10th, confirming that this is definitely not the same Anna as in Awakening. Or maybe they're just accounting for time zones. By the way, want to know a cursed fact you'll wish you had never heard? If you look really close at Anna's portrait art from Fire Emblem Fates, you can see that she has a 6-digit hand. It's only the version from Fates 2. Whether this is a mistake or a deliberate quirk, we don't know for certain. In Three Houses, Anna will make many appearances throughout the game. For example, she may appear within some of the support conversations where she's not a related character. She can also open her secret shop in Part 2 if you find her, quote, secret thingy, located by the sauna. It's not specifically described what this is, but I believe it to be a member's card. Here you can buy many stat-boosting items and accessories, and it's the only place you can purchase an unlimited number of Master Seals. However, you cannot visit this shop from the Professor menu. You can only shop here on days you decide to explore the monastery, giving you at least a little incentive to keep exploring on the free days. Through DLC once again, she was also made a playable unit, but this rendition of her is easily her most underwhelming to date. The biggest offender is that she does not have any support conversations, not even with Byleth. While she does have a paralogue in this game, it doesn't add anything more to her character we didn't already know. Though if you play this paralogue on Crimson Flower, Yuritsa joins in to assist. Although lacking in support conversations, she does have a full character biography to match with the rest of the game's cast. For starters, it confirms that she is 25 at the start of the game, with her birthday being June 9th. Again, hinting that this is a different character entirely, or maybe the world of Fire Emblem just has a lot of time zones. Interestingly, she also carries a major crest of Earnest. According to its description, a crest believed to have been lost to time. No one else in the game has this crest. Even with all the historical texts in the church that talk about the original crest bearers, there is no one named Earnest to be found. Even with the DLC of Cindered Shadows and Abyss, adding 4 new characters with crests of their own, none of them are the crest of Earnest. If you manage to get Anna killed in combat, she will be replaced by a young girl at the monastery, who is inspired by Anna to run a shop herself. Now, why you aren't playing on casual mode or using Divine Pulse to keep Anna alive is beyond me, but regardless, this is some nice attention to detail that I appreciate. Anna also makes appearances through the different spin-off titles for Fire Emblem. In BS Fire Emblem Arcanea War Chronicles, she makes no formal appearance. In Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE, she operates the He-Ho convenience store found in Shibuya Square. Visible only to Mirage Masters, Anna also has a Black Frost counterpart that offers up rare items and posts different side quests. Her He-Ho is also very cute. In Heroes, she is also a playable character, and is one of the units the game starts you with. For the first time in a long time, Anna is not a merchant by trade, but instead the commander for the Order of Heroes. Don't get too comfortable though. She still tries to make a quick buck off her comrades during certain paralogs. She also has received 2 alternate versions since launch. And in Warriors, she makes quite a few appearances. During every chapter, you can also meet certain conditions to open up her shop where you can buy pieces for a picture. By completing any one of these pictures, you unlock one of her secret missions in that respective painting's history mode. Finishing any of the secret missions will unlock her as a playable character. She is by far the most time-consuming character to unlock, and is likely the last playable character that players are likely to acquire. She uses a bow as her weapon, sharing a moveset with Takumi, Sakura, and Niles. Her Warrior's attack is her throwing a coin bomb. Her paired Warrior's attack sees her piloting a mobile ballista. Her Awakening finisher brings in a stationary ballista and 2 sisters to help her fire it. Jake would definitely be proud. So it's time to start figuring out what we know. While there are characters that return in recurring Fire Emblem games, even ones that span millennia, Anna is the only person that has consistently shown up in more than 90% of the titles in the series. But even in those titles, She ventures to places elsewhere in the setting that regular NPCs probably don't even know about. Anna is the only character in the series that has directly broken the fourth wall, calling out to players to save their games, teach them how to play, or even help create their avatar that players will use. In fact, she's one of the only characters that has consistently looked at the camera in her many different iterations, almost as if she has this rare knowledge that even the wisest sages do not. Knowledge that the only beings that could come close to possibly knowing are dragons. She can't possibly be a dragon herself. After all, her ears aren't pointed. Anna is actually one of the few characters in Three Houses that even carries a major crest at all, not to mention one that history apparently forgot. Not only does Anna appear at the Outrealm Gate for Awakening, there's also a secret shop located near the Dragon's Gate in Blazing Blade. In fact, it's possible to end up at the Dragon's Gate through Awakening's DLC. The place you access DLC in Fates isn't called the Outrealm Gate, but rather the Dragon's Gate, the same name as in Blazing Blade. Gates that only dragons, or people with the knowledge of dragons, can open and use. And if the Annas later in the series can be trusted, then we know that there's a great clan of them that is able to travel to different worlds across time and space, without a doubt using these dragon gates to get there. Now we just have to ask, what does it all mean? Well, if I have to speculate, I think the latest details we've received about Anna is the possible key that explains everything. Let's say that Ernest was a Manakete from a time long past. It doesn't really matter what continent he hailed. Ernest was a dragon with a strong admiration of treasure. He devoted his life to collecting coins and artifacts alike. Some would say he was avaristic, although he never wanted to bring harm to people in order to obtain more wealth. But he knew that his time would eventually come to pass. Ernest knew that he would one day degenerate. But not all hope was lost. He met a traveling merchant named Anna, who was adventuring to obtain wealth herself, much in the same way he was. Being able to hit it off, they struck up a business contract. Ernest would make a blood pact with Anna, extending her life so she had the opportunity to continue business long after Ernest would pass, as well as sharing the secrets of the Dragon's Gate. Anna agreed, and thus was blessed with the crest of Ernest. But after many years, Anna accumulated the wealth she had desired, and decided to settle down. She found a man to be her husband, a roguish but otherwise upstanding man named Jake. The two would have many children together. Coincidentally, all of them were daughters, and all of them inherited their mother's major crest of Ernest. It wasn't obvious right away, but as they became older, their parents had a difficult time telling them apart. Not only were they nearly identical to the rest of their siblings, they also had an extremely close resemblance to their mother. Thus, the cycle of Annas was born. Every Anna that inherited the major crest of Ernest not only bore the appearance of their ancestor, but also some of her mannerisms as well. A drive for money, the knowledge of other worlds, and began to travel as merchants to make their fortune as well. While the chances of inheriting a major crest through genetics isn't impossible, it is statistically unlikely. However, the Annas have been a rather lucky bunch. Whenever they are playable characters in their games, they either have the highest luck growths, or personal skills that enhance that attribute even further. If we knew more concrete information about Anna's family, we could come to a more decisive answer on how crests work. Maybe Fina is actually a sister to Anna, but just wasn't lucky enough to inherit this crest. So rather than make her way as a merchant, she decided to become a dancer instead. The only parental relationship between Anna and any of her immediately biological family we do get to see is in Awakening if Anna marries Robin, or Fates if she marries Corin. Their daughter Morgan does not share her mother's appearance. However, she may have inherited a minor crest of Ernest, or perhaps her father's crest. The same could also be true of Kana from Fire Emblem Fates. While Anna could potentially be Kana's mother, her daughter's ability to physically transform into a dragon may suggest she inherited more of her father's abilities. Perhaps the Silent Dragon crest, if you will. So that's who Anna is. Just a member in a family line that's out to strike gold, wherever she may search. And maybe one day, just may find love with a young man named Jake, giving way to a whole new generation of secret sellers. So is any of that true? Well, perhaps not. It's just my own theory that explains how Anna appears as she does throughout the entire series. However, if true, then perhaps we finally discovered the secret of this elusive seller.